people get too attached to words and climate change or global warming, like people have already like not a full knowledge depth. They'll just like cling to something, and because they also don't have an in-depth understanding or even taking the time to know, um, I'd say most people, if you can't digest it within 15 to 30 seconds, the attention span's down, right, in society. So people will cling to these words and like immediately react to them. And I think that again, it's like this heart and emotional issue. Because then they tend to even tie that with politics, and it's really non-political. When you look at the historic record, I mean, I'm from Daytona Beach, so I've also like that's known to be a little bit more like conservative in a sense, and different parts of Florida have different political environments. And so there's people, right, we got like NASCAR and I'll always be like, okay, well, if you don't believe in the fact of climate change in a sense, like go rev race cars in your garage and let me know when you can't breathe. It's irrefutable that at some point you're not going to be able to breathe, that we're burning fuels at a much more exponential rate, that if we did not exist, it would not be happening to that rate. Now, it is a natural cycle, undoubtedly, but just not at the rate that we're currently doing it. And so that also means extremes. Like it will be a drought in some areas, it'll be hot in some areas, it'll be freezing cold and even flooding in other areas. And so you'll see these very extreme weather shifts that don't, it'll be rising seas in one area and completely desolate in another. And so people don't really understand those kinds of relationships. And we're still learning a lot about how things interconnect and how one thing over here around the globe affects this side, right? Like for example, this is just to tie back to Mexico really quick. Bacalar, which is a beautiful place in the south part of the Riviera Maya. It's one of the last places on Earth that still has stromatolites, which are these bacterial mats that were like considered the start of life. It has actual dust that comes over from across the world from the Sahara Desert. And actually, it gets very foggy and almost like sediment in the sky at a certain time of year that is affected from a direct place all the way across the world. So it's actually a beautiful place to go to see how all of these things interconnect. And it's known as the seven lagoons, the seven blues of the world. So there's seven shades of blue. They have different lagoons there. You should look it up. It's called Bacalar. Most people don't understand that interconnectivity. And again, that is like a lack of knowledge. And so I see people get polarized with words all the time. And so for me, it's just like, okay, well, why is someone feeling this way? And like, how can I diffuse that situation? Right. And so if we seek to understand rather than to combat or defend, then that's a totally different conversation. And so it is unfortunate for seeing things like that of like striking climate change. Like, no, like, how about we actually just let's define that more then. You want to have a conversation around it? Let's actually look into what that means because it means something different to many people, and I think that's the problem.